You are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
All right, we're not. There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fika. The second time for the gentleman here with me today. With our returning guest, Mark Ryan, a new face, Rob Camies, and me, your host, Vicky Benison. There isn't very much that Mark hasn't done in this world, so I'm just going to grab a couple things off the top of my head and off my shelf and not do all the things because we'll be here forever, Mark. We'll be here forever. And so we have musical theater with Evita. We have acting with Robin of Sherwood, Black Sails. We have voice acting with Transformers and a bit of acting in there as well. We have oracle creating, tarot card creating with the Wildwood Tarot, the Greenwood Tarot, and the Sherwood Oracle. We have his book, as he's also an author, Hold Fast, which is his memoir right in the center, which reads more like fiction than fact. It's truly a great adventure, as Mark's life has been. Need a little bit of an update on it, however, Mark. Get on that. You have so much free time. And lately, he's been getting more in the production area of things. First with the Webster Film Company, and now with Rob Camies' company, Zod Films. Rob has graduated from both the Royal Academy of Art in Brussels and the Minerva Art College. He is a Dutch filmmaker, and he is also, aside from writing the script for 23 Letters from Vincent van Gogh, which is going to be our focus today, he has also been the art director, the line producer, and the set designer. I have wanted to do a show on this ever since Mark mentioned 23 Letters from Vincent van Gogh during his last visit. And when I started to see the beautiful images coming out of the filming, it's perfect eye candy. The air, the colors, all of those things. And so I have been wanting to do this show. Rob, it all takes place in Drenthe.
Did
I do it right that time?
Yeah.
Drenthe in the Netherlands, the Drenthe province in the Netherlands. And that's where Rob grew up. He says it's a mysterious place. So we'll have to hear more about that. But being an artist and growing up in that area, I have a feeling this is a project that is very close to his heart. So thanks for coming to talk about this, gentlemen, taking time out of your busy, busy schedule, and welcome to Fika again.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us, Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So, Rob, I think you're going with this one. Can you give us a little synopsis on the story behind 23 Letters from Vincent van Gogh so everybody can have a little more understanding about what we're talking about?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief, because if I start talking, sometimes it's Pandora's box that's opening. But in a nutshell, most Vincent van Gogh movies, they take place in the latter years of his career, actually in France. And we knew about the fact that he was visiting the province of Drenthe, which is in the north of the Netherlands, a very rural area, but also very old ground. And it gave an opportunity to tell something about a much younger, a much more naive Vincent, who was much more of an explorer. And also tell something about this area and a specific that time, which is the late 19th century, which is a very interesting time in my opinion. So we set on this journey to make a movie about that.
And Rob, you wanted to get Mark's opinion on what the story was about as well. Shall we ask him? So we have two different. What do you think the story is about, Mark?
Well, me?
Yeah.
Me? Okay. Well, having worked with artists, as you know, on Greenwood and Wildwood and now Sherwood Oracle, I'm always fascinated by the process of visualization of art and why different types of personalities. Having worked with Jessica Potter, and the other people that have worked, the other people that have worked on other projects, even comic books like Green Arrow with Mike Grell. I'm fascinated by that process of taking that image and putting it into art and turning it into a reality, a visual reality. And so that's always been a part of my, I'm always fascinated by that. And Van Gogh particularly, and we've talked about this, Rob and I have talked about this, everybody's kind of got their own version of Vincent van Gogh. Everybody's kind of got a bit of the history, a bit of the story they relate to, certainly his later artworks in different ways. And so I was initially hooked by, well, what was going on in his head. He changed from what he was doing in Drenthe with the more darker, the more dour, the more rural. What happened that changed it into Starry, Starry Night and, that the more colourful, because something happened. And as Rob just said, not really a lot is known. We know he wrote these 23 letters, which were more asking for financial support and explaining his situation there, where he was painting in sort of an artist colony that was forming. And we know he was getting financial support, I believe, from his brother, but we don't know what happened to him, why he suddenly up sticks and goes to France and moves out of that environment and becomes what everybody now accepts is Vincent van Gogh. But before that, he was doing the potato eaters and doing his very rural. It's interesting because we talked about the similarities between Drenthe and Ireland. That's why one of the characters, the character I play is Irish. And the peat bog industry and mining for peat, people building houses out of peat and trying to survive in this very harsh, difficult rural atmosphere. And he chose to go there and memorialize that in his work. And then he decided to change. So what happened? What switch happened in his head? And so I was interested. But as soon as we started talking about it, I was like, and this is interesting because, as I said, having worked with artists, you know what sometimes works with them psychologically and sometimes doesn't. And obviously, we later know that Vincent suffered from some issues, most emotional and mental issues, and he ended up in homes trying to sort out his issues. So something happened which changed his view of the world, and he was able to then express that in his later artwork. It's an interesting journey.
It is. And reading, I read his 23 letters, and they do show, like, first of all, I want to say how descriptive he was. Like, he was so descriptive right down to the smallest of details. And also you could see how he was trapped in by love, by money, by, just not being able to do his art because lack of equipment, for lack of better words, supplies. You could see all of that in the social anxiety of, like, I need to know why this man is not replying to me. His brother saying maybe he just forgot, but you can see that mind trailing to find these details. So they were very revealing, but it doesn't. But I'm just going to take a minute because I'm going to make a point here. Okay, Robin's a regular. And he says, "Good morning, Vicky, Mark, and Rob. Just made a coffee and looking forward to this." So it is it is morning where Robin is. It's afternoon where I am, and it's evening where you guys are.
It really is, yeah.
We're getting together anyways, despite all of those differences. Um, so Mark, part of the job of a producer, as far as I've looked up, is to find scripts, to find this material to work with. Now, did you find Rob? Did Rob find you? How did you guys get together?
Well, I'm living in I'm now living in this area called Friesland, which is where your Frisian cows and Frisian horses come from, in the northern part of the Netherlands, which is a very, actually bizarrely akin to Yorkshire, where I grew up. And we have a boat here on the lakes, and we love the Frisian lakes, and we've ended up living here in this very, very kind of an idyllic spot overlooking the park and everything. So I spend my time here, between here and now Las Vegas, because I moved from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. So there is a film community here, which I either found me or I found them. I can't remember which way around it was. It was actually I think called Tim Larning, who said that there is this film group. So I kind of volunteered and threw my hat into the ring, because, as we both know, wherever you go, there you are. And what you've done in your past follows you. And certainly what I've done in my past appears to have followed me. There's no escape from Transformers. There is no escape from Robin. There is no escape wherever you go. Even in the Netherlands from Evita. And so I thought, well, let me see if I can give some of these folks support and try and give them some of the benefit of the pain and scars I've managed to accumulate from working in Hollywood for 30 years or something. So that's how it started. And Rob and I were talking about a project, a Western project. That's how it sort of started, where we shot a little bit of a teaser trailer for a Western project in Germany, of all places. There is an actual Western town in Germany. And I got the chance to shoot a Gatling gun. And I'm always, open to the an offer of. I was bribed by Rob, who said, "If you do it," I said, if I can shoot the Gatling gun, I'll do the project." And so, you know me. And so there is memorial footage of me shooting a Gatling gun in a Western town, and that's out there somewhere. And then we talked about this project, which was already sort of in the works already. And I just basically said, would you like me to help you in any way? If there's anything I can do. And I look, some of the stuff I've done with Martin, it's usually, I didn't have to find the script. The script was here for this. I mean, hopefully in the future, we will have other projects where we do have to find scripts and shape them to fit a certain, filming model here, because that's what needs to be developed. And we're in the process of doing that. But this one was already perfectly formed. So, the story itself, excuse me, already was enough for me to go, okay, what can I do? And I think Rob then asked me about advising on the tarot aspect of it. And so I got involved with that. And then he said, well, why don't you play the tarot card reader? And that's how. So I looked into my family history. And my sisters discovered some rather strange, I grew up not knowing my relationship to Scottish royalty or to Irish royalty. I know people go, Irish royalty, but mythically there was. And one of them was the Geraghty clan in Ireland. Excuse me, I've still got this remains of the lurg. And so we decided to call the tarot card reader in this Megeraghty, the magical Megeraghty, the great Megeraghty. And he's one of the characters that interacts with Van Gogh in explaining some of the psychology of what he's done, where he's going, what's happening to him now, because Van Gogh is on a journey to understand his own psyche and his own issues with what he's viewing and all that kind of stuff. So that was an interesting journey for a character to explain why this character's there and his relationship to Van Gogh. So that's how it developed, and since then we've we've been working on it virtually non-stop all year. So we're moving
Now,
forward.
I'm quite enthralled by the appearance of the great McGarity, the world's wonderful and weird wizard. So I
There is
so
a poster
did you
somewhere. There is a poster in the background.
Yeah, there's a wait. Did your audience see the poster actually?
no,
I
no,
have it here.
I do see on the website. I need that poster. I see on the website that it's available, and I just want to know, when is it going to be available, Rob? I've looked back because this is the ultimate fortune teller. Okay, it is. See that, people? That there's a space for it right here. And I can bring the crystal ball up, and we have.
Just so you know, just to say that this poster, which I am absolutely gobsmacked by, was drawn by a Dutch star called Beaux, who is one of the greatest Elvis aficionados, and he does these shows where he does Elvis. Let me tell you, it's extraordinary because he physically looks like him without going over the top. It's not like a Elvis impersonator in Las Vegas. He actually has got his mannerisms and his voice and the way he brings the songs, and that picture was done by him. And I was like, wow, that is brilliant, because I used to be a member of the Magic Castle. And if you go into the Magic Castle, they all have all these period posters. And I went, he must have gone and looked up what period posters of great magicians, whether it was a sleep artist or that, because he's copied the style and put me into it brilliantly. So, thank you, mate, wherever you are. I know you're probably
It's absolutely perfect. The first time I saw that, I was like, there has to be a poster. Like, they have to sell these posters. Now, did he come up with the clothing and that as he made the posters, or was that already
Actually,
determined?
Bouke is actually my neighbor in Emmen, where I'm from, and I visit him a lot. He's a big Western fan, so this Western Mark was alluding to, which we did a 2-day shoot to make a teaser. He saw that and he said, "Well, Rob, I want to make a Western also. I'm a spaghetti Western fan, and I can do much more than singing," which is true. And I was looking in his house, and he had already drawn out his entire storyline. So I knew he could draw he's a very good artist. So when it came to pass that we needed a poster for McGarity, I asked him, I said, "Bouke, can you make a poster, and can you make it look like it was from that era?" So he did some research, and he came up with this, and I was absolutely enthralled. And I said, thank you. We're going to put it in a movie in a very nice way. So you'll see it in the cart where McGarity is living. You see it on the wall, because it gives a bit of a backstory of the McGarity person. He used to be a star in Great Britain, and then he fled because of all sorts of things he did or maybe did not do.
Why do they always have to do these things to Irish characters? Okay.
Yeah, he was a bit of a misfit, maybe, or maybe he was he was part of a short-lived rebellion, as he said in the movie. So this is all part of world building, as they said. So it's not just the character. You can see part of his backstory already. You ask yourself, why is this guy in a caravan in Drenthe and not on a stage somewhere?
And I want to come back to that filming, but it is, as a child, whenever there was a fair or something, I grew up in a rural area. The first thing I wanted to do was run to the side and find the palm reader or whatever. And I feel like I was looking for the great McGarity the whole time.
Oh, we all are.
Yeah, I saw that picture and I was like, I want to get a tarot reading from him, but I'm not sure he looks very trustworthy. So I have to see the movie first. I'm sorry, Mark. for everybody out there, yes, I have gotten a tarot reading from Mark, and it was very trustworthy. I'm not talking about Mark. I'm talking about McGarity the Great. Like,
Well, McGarity got his own little demons to worry about in the movie. So
yeah, yes, as we all do. So yes, I am so impressed with that. And I have it on my list of questions. When is this poster going to be available? Like, and I could put it on my Christmas list.
well,
Probably.
actually, I already made 50, which are still at the office here for Mark. I told him next time you go on a tour, because sometimes he goes on these tours to sign photographs. I said just give people a poster with your autograph on it, and they'll ask what is this, and then you can talk about the movie. So it's a bit of a really nice promotion. But I forgot to give it to him, so he went to all over the States without the poster. So it's still.
Hey, okay. I'm sorry for the people that he went to see him at these things, but I'm happy because I am at home right now. My husband is on home dialysis, so I have to be here 3 days a week to help him with that. And I'm like, of all the years, I almost complained on Facebook, but for all the years for Mark to be within a day's driving range of me, which never happens, up the river, why does it have to be now? And if I had found out he was carrying those posters around and giving them out, I would have been really upset. So,
no, well, good luck he forgot them.
We'll send you one. Don't worry. We'll send you. We'll all get.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, we'll make sure you get one.
Because like there's this white place here. I didn't even know what it was for till I saw that poster, and I'm like, it's staying open. It's staying open. Now those scenes.
It's also on the back there, so if you want.
There it is.
There's also one there.
There it is. Okay, then I can get the crystal ball out. I've got some peacock feathers, which I feel like he would wear in his hat at times. You know, we're all we're all ready with that. So in the pictures, okay, you know what? I don't want to get ahead. So the Drenthe, please have that right. The Drenthe area is where the Zod Film Foundation, you call it, is the area in which a lot of, well, you want all your films to sort of be based in there and the surrounding provinces and even into Germany, because the natural border, the political border, is not the natural border as far as the people are concerned. There has been a community of people crossing that border and living that life there. Can you explain a little bit more for everyone about like the history of how that developed?
Yeah, well, actually, Vicky, you're very well informed because this is exactly what is true. So Drenthe is a province of the Netherlands, and the Netherlands borders on in the east on Germany and in south Belgium, but we are more in the northeast. And these borders, they are only, I think, existing from the I think late 18th century or something. But it's more of the Nether Saxon region, as they call it. So also the language just across the border, it resembles a lot of the dialect we speak. So we do not consider these borders to be real borders. It's got the same. They also have the megaliths. They also have the same history, as a matter of fact. So.
And you mentioned on the site even a language, like a dialect that is special to that area.
Yeah, it's called the Nether Saxon language family. So we talk Drents in Drenthe, but they talk like Plat Dutch, as they call it. It's like German, but with a really strong dialect, and they resemble each other a lot. So. And there's a long history, way before World War II, way before, well, even back to the Roman times, and even before that, you have these megaliths which are 5,000-6,000 years old. So it's the area we live has got a very old vibe to it. Also, you have these ley lines where all these megaliths are built. So we feel very akin to the Germans just across the border.
Well, and I love this whole thing that you're doing because, I mean, that's what Fika is about. If we get to know people and their stories, we will understand them more because of their traditions and the things that they've done. Now, moving a little out of our focus subject, I watched Betrayal the other day because I could find it on Tubi. And what is the Dutch name for it so people know?
Grenzeloos Verraad, which translates to borderless betrayal, basically.
Okay, so on Tubi, so they're on Tubi, people. I watched it the other day, and I read some things, and I just want to make sure because the internet has sent me wrong before. Lots of times that this movie was completely done with volunteers, with donations from the area, with with only 300,000 euros for this
Yes.
whole movie. Now, I am not a war movie person. They're sad. Okay, I haven't watched Braveheart for the same reason. So don't, I don't like it. But I did watch this because it was all of your work I had to view into. And I thought it was amazing. I thought that the lack of the sensationalism of the blood made us think of them as people more of people who had lived across the border from each other. Um, and so you see that part of them, that pain for doing that, the part where there's the Nazi officer has to go in for the operation, just hearing the heartbeat. I mean, this is why, would you consider yourself indie?
Yes.
Okay, this is why I like indie voices, because they're different, because it's new, it's not the same old, we know this sells, so we're going to do it again. Not that I'm knocking any franchises like Transformers. I thought I better put that in there. But I really thought it was an excellent movie. And I also, and if you're watching it on Tubi, you have to know that you can't put the subtitles on while the movie's going. You have to go back to the start, go into the Tubi settings, and hit subtitles when available.
I
And if
didn't know that. Okay, that's very interesting, actually.
Yeah, no, because it took me a while to figure it out, and I was like, "How do I get subtitles on Tubi?" I googled it, so to save anybody that problem. So I love the idea that the whole community worked together on this, and there were people without acting experience involved, and I thought, I mean, there's always complaints in the world, but I thought it made it more natural. I thought, are people supposed to act in circumstances like that? Like, who are we to? So check that out, people. But this is really starting to be a thing for you guys then. And Mark, because you're living in the area, you want to be a part of that.
Yeah, very much so. And I think it's doable. I think particularly Dutch film is due for a bit of renaissance. I just worked on something in Amsterdam. I'm not actually allowed to say what yet. I was trying to find out if I could actually just mention it, but it's for a legendary Dutch director, and I got asked to come and play. And when I just, turn up and do something, so I did. And I think the Dutch film industry is up for a bit of a renaissance. And I think one of the interesting things that Rob and I have been looking at, and other, trying to recruit people into this, is that the idea of doing provincial movies, smaller budget with an international appeal, I think that is a growing phenomena. And for instance, Lutina, my wife, watches Swedish television with subtitles. She watches Korean drama. She watches all kinds of stuff. It doesn't matter. Yes, she has the advantage of being multilingual, but even when she's watching something in English, as she says, she actually puts the English subtitles so she can understand the nuances of what is actually being said. And I think that that's one of the things that the internet and Netflix and Amazon, these various other outlets, have brought is that they've invited an international audience to look at this type of project and go, oh, there's a story here. There's a human story here that I find absorbing and I can get into. And I think that that is what we're trying to do here is find those local stories that have enough human interaction and interest that draw people in, and then they look and look. Drenthe is a case in point. I've been to those monuments that Rob's talking about, those what we call the Metiers and the burial chambers and all that kind of stuff. There is such a striking similarity between the Stone Age and the Bronze Age, Iron Age history in that area and in Great Britain, in Glastonbury and on around Stonehenge and all the places I've been to in the UK, Avebury. You know, you get a, well, oh, this wasn't just there. This was pan-European. There was literally a massive trade going on, not just of coal and tin and silver, as there was in Cornwall with the Romans, but there was ideas. There was thought process. There was questions, the same questions for humanity in Drenthe as there was in Glastonbury. You know, and that's to me that kind of background. It's like having your fingers in the soil. It gives you a grounding place to go, okay, let's start with humanity. Let's start how we evolve. Let's start the same questions and where we've ended up and how those relationships translate into modern drama.
Okay, so I'm going to say this once. I totally agree with Mark. I totally agree with him on a lot of stuff, but we won't tell them. No, but it is. I mean, this is the whole point of it's those little havens that people have called home relate to the other havens all over the world so closely. We all want the same stuff in the end. We want safety for our children. We want, you want to have security, warmth, and a bedtime story before you go to bed, right? We just, that's what everybody wants. And if we see that in each other, perhaps we'll trust each other a little more.
A bit more. Yeah.
Right. I'm still not sure about McGarity, but
McGarity's a good guy.
Okay, good. I'm glad. See what he does? This is why I don't always agree with him. All right.
Well, he's not a bad guy in a movie. Let's say that. But he does have some issues to deal with.
Yeah. Well, don't we all, Rob? Don't we all?
Yep.
So, okay. So part of the things that you have down for what you want to accomplish with this this foundation, this company, is that you want to get the museums and that involved, and that's what I wanted to talk about way back before I started this whole tangent. I see the films of McGarity scenes, and they're in the open air museum, and it's just. They're just beautiful. And then you have scenes shot at Vincent's home in the Vincent van Gogh house in Amsterdam.
New Amsterdam.
No, not in Amsterdam.
Oh, it's okay.
It's New Amsterdam.
It's New Amsterdam? Okay. So for Vicky and the rest of the world who may not understand, what is the difference between Amsterdam and New Amsterdam?
Well, New Amsterdam is newer, of course. It's actually New Amsterdam is actually a village, and it was erected in the 19th century to be a colony, as a matter of fact, for the whole peat industry, which powered the entire industrial revolution. So they needed to give it a name. So they had a very ambitious name of calling it New Amsterdam. But it is actually a small village in Drenthe.
Okay, well, that clears a lot up for me because I was confused because I was like, why is it in Amsterdam? We were basing everything in Drenthe. So that was in Drenthe. And it must be a wonderful resource since you're working about that area to have all these museums to use, to know, to be open to you.
Yeah, well, one of the ways of making movies in an indie style, and actually saving a lot of money is by using existing places to film in and film at. So instead of building an entire set or a house to film in, you use the houses and the sets that are already available. It also gives it the whole movie a kind of tangibility. You see it also in Betrayal, which we also filmed in a lot of real places, a real train station, real houses, real town squares.
Do you use the same train station in both?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we did. Yeah,
Okay, I thought they were familiar.
with some tweaking.
I love that train station, so I'm not complaining. It's a beautiful train station.
With some tweaking. Well, it's a very nice museum rail. Well, and what you have is that the whole community actually gets involved. So you have all these people living there. They hear that there's a movie going on. So they all try to help and give a hand. So you have a lot of goodwill coming your way while you're making this movie, which is one of the things that I really like about the whole process, actually.
And it's going to be going to be great for tourism because I'm not able to go places now, but I was watching some bicycle tours through the area, and I was like, now I want to go.
Personally, Vicky, it was kind of almost a spiritual experience actually watching them film in the room where Van Gogh lived while he was there. And one of the other things that adds incredible power, I think, to this project is you're actually filming in the places that he went to paint and in the places that he lived and in the places that he visited. You know, the church, the famous church with the sheep outside, that's one of the locations where we filmed. And that to me is kind of like you feel a connection to it because you know that he was sat there at some point and in that room thinking about, well, what am I going to, and writing letters to his brother. That to me gives an incredible insight, not just into the personality of the man, but it adds a lot of credibility to the production.
Well, you would feel that. Like you go to any historical place and you think, arrowheads were made out of flint here or soldiers stood here. You have that extra energy of him. Now I see him standing behind you, nodding his head. Yes, this is my story. So cold chills time, but yes, that would be a remarkable, not only the circumstance, but everything that it means behind it. That just this is where he was. Hopefully we can all feel that through the screen.
Well, the thing is, well, apart from it being a unique selling point in a movie, because I cannot remember any movie about Vincent van Gogh where they actually filmed inside the room or the place he stayed in. Exactly the same floorboards are still there. There's also a kind of metaphysical feeling, like you're almost tapping into the same energy he was tapping into. So for us, it is also very metaphysical to film there and have this energy translate into our movie.
So is that bedroom? I don't know the name, and I know at that time a lot of bedrooms were the same. But is that bedroom the one in the picture? His painting? Yes. So I had that for the longest time on my wall.
You mean the painting he made of a bedroom? Well, that was actually the bedroom in Arles, I think, in France.
So they all just look quite a bit alike because it has the same kind of bed and things in it. Oh, well, now you made me sad, Rob.
Well, can't have everything.
There are several scenes, though. We did film several scenes in that very room. I mean, it's kind of weird. It is weird, to be stood there and watching people, particularly a big shout out to Pim. Pim, who was actually playing. If you're listening, Pim, I promise you, I would. Pim has done the most amazing job of embodying this character and bringing it to life. And he almost is channeling it. It's very strange. He's very, very, the internal turmoil and journey that Scott Pimwood is doing, who plays Vincent, is fantastic. And when I was watching him on the monitor outside when they were doing some of these scenes, I was like, this got to be not only the weirdest experience for him, but it's kind of weird for us monitoring it on the outside, from an outside viewpoint, because you look at him and you go, he's channeling this. Something, he's hearing some voice in his head that is guiding this inner thing. And he's fantastic in the role. Oh, fantastic in the role.
He's phenomenal.
He has amazing expressions. Like, just from the little trailer that you sent me. Get the real one done soon, Rob, because people need to see this. But his expressions, the sadness or the caring, the empathy for these people was very visible on his face. You could see that feeling coming through.
Yeah. It's tangible. It's a really tangible movie. Where you, well, not a critique on Hollywood, but Hollywood is very polished a lot of times. And what I really like about indie movies is that you have more of a tangible feel, and the way Pim is acting is very tangible. It's really, it's almost, we had these moments on set where things happened. Where, for example, a little girl, we had her as an extra on set, and at one point she just got up and walked all the way to Pim to give him a flower that she just plucked in the scene. She did that. It was not scripted, and the whole crew, everyone went silent and went all into that moment. That was pure magic. And the hard work you do all day. Sometimes you think, wow, why am I doing this? And these little short moments, then it pays off. It's magic.
Well, that's what I want to point out. First of all, I would never knock Hollywood because we have some people here today that have hung out there. But the purpose behind doing it, the love and the passion, and I'm not saying they're not okay. I'm just going to stop doing that. But the love and the passion that comes into play in these movies that the people are involved in the community and everything, it has to register. I feel that it registered with Betrayal. I feel it's going to register with this. It has a different goal. I mean, we all want to make money, especially the producer sitting up there. But we all want to make money, but these have something more to them with this love of area and passion and history. And there's so for example, I read the letters for free online, which made me curious about, I still don't know who the woman was. Did she have a name? Does anybody know if the woman in the letters has a name?
Her name was Sien Hoornik. Sien. It was the woman he lived with in The Hague before he went to Drenthe. Sien itself would be worth a movie. This woman was a real survivor. She had two children with two different fathers. She was actually in the late 19th century, really trying to survive. And she's also featured in the movie.
Oh, she's in there as well, because I just was going, he was talking about the woman and having to leave her and that sadness. And I was like, okay, so I have to go search here. This is a mystery. He mentioned Zola and his work. So now I have to go read that book because it was suggested by Vincent van Gogh. There is just so many places that when you get following something like this, it can take you. And it's a great adventure if you can't get away from home. And it doesn't have to cost you a lot to do that. But speaking of cost, it's also the producer's job to come up with funding. So is that like a lot of grants and things and something like this, Mark, or Rob, whoever wants to go with it?
Well, Rob, you deal with it because you did indeed find this original, financial support, which I thought was a miracle. But there you go.
Yeah, well, we did learn a bit from making Betrayal, and the way we made that movie, and also the way we make this movie, is actually just scrapping money from everywhere. So, and really appealing to community, also the German community and the 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 provincial funds, because this is not made with money from the central government. It's really made with money from municipalities, from the provinces, um, sponsorship. So, but it is doable. It is a lot of work. And actually, to go back to a thing Mark was saying about how we met, I was waiting for the grants to come in. This was 2021, I think, or 22, and we were just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I met Mark, and I thought, well, if we're waiting, maybe I can make this Western thing we always wanted to make about a sheriff who's sheriff in a town full of drunks. And I asked Mark, well, would you like to would you like to play a sheriff? I'll let you see the Gatling gun. Yes, okay, they will do it. Um, but if eventually we did get the money, but it took a few years. We already started applying for funds while we're still filming Betrayal, as a matter of fact. So, but without the sense of community that we have and all the um, what you call it, the goodwill, it would never have been possible.
With no, I'm just amazed at all of this, Rob. Like, it makes me so happy. See, I I didn't watch Braveheart because he made me sad, but this makes me so happy that this is happening in the world, and there is such good-heartedness for these important subjects. Like, and this whole, okay, I know that there's a whole country western thing in Germany because when we were doing the shows in Niagara Falls, Dave had a guest who was a German country western singer, and he also performs in on this side of the thing. And I was like, a German country western singer, but now I know it's a really big thing. And they had an award show in the Netherlands, which actually we had planned to go at that point, but COVID happened. So now it's too late. But yeah, there's interesting things going on out there. And I think this whole country western interest in Germany is one of them.
Well, it's not the first time that actually a western was filmed in Germany in the late 60s, early 70s, when the whole spaghetti western came up.
Right.
They all filmed them in Spain. There were also westerns being filmed in Germany and I think Yugoslavia it was, and they call them sauerkraut westerns. It's actually a thing; it exists.
And yeah, I think sauerkraut. But I sometimes think people looking from the outside in have a different view, like the Italian westerns. I mean, the spaghetti westerns. There is nothing like Eastwood. A fistful of dollars, or that whole trilogy is just like classic. And so, yeah.
If you listen to the soundtracks of those movies now, I mean, I was playing it the other day and going, brilliant, absolutely.
Oh yeah, how did No, and he was the perfect character. Once again, he wasn't good, he wasn't bad. He just rode into town and cleaned it up. So he was actually I had images for like the three. Anyways, I always thought he was like a non-peaceful Jesus because he would ride into a town, clean it up, and move on to the next one. Like, so I sort of pictured.
That's well, did you what get some answers to that online, aren't you? And
yeah, it's a big imagination. Okay, let's go for a question. Okay, working on set, creating a project must be such a great feeling and a lot of work as well. I just am blown away by the talent involved with these images that are coming out of there, Rob.
Yeah, well, to elaborate on that. Yes, it is a lot of work, but because we do not have a lot of money, you have this delta, you have this the triangle where you have quality, time, and money. if you want high quality, but you do not have a lot of money, you really need to take your time. For example, Betrayal took us 4 years to film. It was 72 days of filming with tanks and explosions and all these things. And it took us 4 years. We're not planning on doing it as long as that, but to
I hope not. I
in
can't
this
wait.
movie, we're making, I think, 1 or 2 scenes a month. And we started last year in October 23, and it's again October, so we're already filming for a year. So this it does take a lot of work, and it does take a lot of time. So key element is also commitment. You cannot do it without commitment of everyone involved. It's not something you say, well, okay, I'll do this thing and then it's over. It's something you have to be really into.
And if it gets tough, you can't quit.
That's the whole thing. Once you're on the
Yeah,
train,
you're
you have to ride
committed.
it till the end.
I was going to ask you that, and I guess I am asking you that. what why take on this is a lot of responsibility when you're the boss at a there are people working for money. You're responsible for all of them. You're responsible for getting it out. You're responsible for telling people where the grant money goes, even so within the community how this is going. So obviously you're a very intelligent person, Rob. Why would you take this on instead of work for someone else? What brought you to this?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a matter of intelligence. Maybe it's a lack of.
I know,
That's journey. But
it's
yeah, well, it's there is this. It's also part of the community as it is here. People are very ambitious. When you have these feasts when the harvest is over in the late summer, they are very ambitious doing it here. They're throwing all kinds of things, and it's very big. And you have these bonfires. If they make a bonfire, it's not just one; it's a lot of bonfires, and they are very big. So it's also a sense of, well, if you do something, do it, do it really good, and do it serious. But then we're going all in. So it's a bit of a, yeah, part of the culture, I think.
um author Susan Marcus says, good show, guys. Thank you, Susan. A lot of information going out here. So there is the funding, and then there is getting these things seen. And I realize that there are more options out there now that are more open to these kind of things. But say, for example, with Penitent, it keeps telling me that it's on Amazon, but because I'm not in the United States, it's not coming to me. And I'm waiting and waiting. And I'm telling you, if that happens with Grail Mark, you'll be sending me a copy of that movie because I've been waiting for that one as well.
Sadly, it's one of the elements now with independent, guerrilla filmmaking that obviously you kind of rely on how the film is going to be funded. And as Rob said, which is not your standard way of doing it in the States, where you would shoot a film for. And I keep quoting this to people because it's true. When we did Rob in a Show, we made 5 made-for-TV films, and we used to have what's called a 10-day turnaround for each episode. So what Paul Knight and the production crew did was stitch 2 episodes together to make a 2-hour film, or whatever, 47 minutes or whatever. So you shoot
47 minutes.
those 2, and we shoot those in 20 days. So in a month, we managed to shoot these movies made for television with Robin and Sherwood with horses and costumes, period, sword fights, special effects. We managed to shoot those films in that period. There you go. And if you look at the quality of some of those, particularly the Swords of Wayland, which was absolutely mind-blowing in the UK at the time, when people saw that 2 hours of television made in the UK, people went, this is like Kegamusha. This is like a grand epic scale film filmed in the UK by HTV, Harlech Television. So it is doable. I've been there, lived it, done it, and survived it. So it is doable. And what we're trying to gather is some financial support for these films in all of the provinces that we're working at the moment, and maybe over in Germany, and maybe in Belgium, and maybe Ireland. That's something that's been discussed as well recently, is to bring those elements to get together with these stories that have an international appeal. And we've already found a couple that I went, wow, that's a great idea. And it's not controversial. It's just a story about something that the journey of this, not even a person, it's actually I'll go into it because somebody will steal the idea. So I went, wow, that is a fantastic concept, which brings a world market into this location, into Friesland itself. So I was like, wow, that's a very interesting idea. So there are lots of what we need is backing. We need somebody in one of these centers of cultural excellence to go, we need to put some money into this so we can shoot these things 6 to 8 weeks, get it done, get it completed, edited, and get it out there on Netflix, Amazon, and all that kind of stuff, and bring in maybe a couple of bits of talent that people go, oh, I love what they do. I'd watch anything that they do. And you bring those guys in and you shoot them just to raise the profile a bit on some of these projects. But that's kind of what we're working on at the moment. And obviously, Van Gogh is one of those projects which I think, because he's the star, the name Van Gogh is the star, it has universal appeal around the world. And because Pim is literally almost bringing it to life, I think it'll be a success commercially around the world.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that with the images, the photography, with the expression, the subject matter. I just think it's a great project. But I just want to address something that you brought up. These movies aren't necessarily controversial. And do you think, I think it is time for that. It's time to just look at people and their lives without always having, something to make us anxious about whose side's going to win or whatever. Just nice stories of real lives.
Well, it's the common human experience, isn't it? I mean, we all have ambitions to do things. We all have desires. We all have issues. We all got problems. We all got history. And usually with any of these archetypal stories, and I guess Van Gogh is an archetypal story. He's the tortured artist. And but it's a human story, and as I've said, having worked with artists in the past, some of whom were tortured, you get to understand what's going on in their head and how they put that out there in their work. In the very first one we did, Greenwood Tarot, we drew a lot from William Blake. And I often wondered, and I think it's been discussed, that if William Blake actually had, I think it's called synthesis. It's where your brain mixes up your senses, so you hear colors and you taste, light or whatever, and your senses are mixed up. So you put this stuff out there the way that you are experiencing it internally, because that's the only way you can, because your senses are cross-wired in your brain, which gives you a very different view of the universe. I know people, I think my own daughter does it. She sees the stairway here as colors. So as she's coming down the stairs, she'll go green, orange, yellow. As she's not counting them, she's seeing each step as a color. And I know some people have got that cross-brain wiring. And you go, wow, is that why they express this? And I wondered if that was an element in Van Gogh's life, that this thing that he was struggling with later on caused him the emotional conflicts that he had, was because he experiencing the world in his head in a different way than we that normally see the five senses and experience that. But it's to me, it's a fascinating view of part of our human journey.
Well, I think everybody should read those 23 letters that have an interest in Van Gogh, because it's seeing into his head. It's listening to him talk. It's as you say, it is I can't even express it. I just want to go back in time and have coffee with him and say, now, Vincent, it's not so bad. This is what you do. Because he was very open-minded about things, even though he was a minister for a while. His father was a minister. He had developed, But isn't that always the way? Like, he had some very sensitivities towards people who may not fit into the good guy, the good people zone, right?
Well, it's one of the questions in the card reading scenes. And as you know, I mean, because we've talked about my work with the tarot cards and stuff, I don't believe in fate. I believe that each human being creates their own possibilities and probabilities. And the more you push out that waveform of creating those openings and opportunities for yourself, the more the universe seems to like it and will bring you more opportunities and offer you more possibilities and probabilities. So I believe that that's the way the universe functions. And so in these scenes, which I have with Pim and with Vincent, we are kind of talking about that. You decide what comes next. You either condemn yourself to this or you change that. And the moment that you observe the layout of the cards, you've already changed it. You can already change it if you want. But again, it's part of the tortured soul's journey that they see that this is the fate that they're going to have to face and have to accept. And it's part of the dialogue between the two characters, between McGarity and Vincent.
It's an interesting concept because people see, I mean, it's a controversy within the belief of tarot that some people see it as telling you what's going to happen, and some people see it as a guideline or a second opinion, hats off. Because I know I did tarots for a while at festivals, and I know I would say to the people immediately, this is just a guideline. You have the choice to change your life anytime you want to. And I also had it in my ethics that I would be understanding of all viewpoints. Anyways, and they would say, "What do you mean? I can change my life?" This is why, I mean, that yes. Took everything I had not to reach across the table and shake them. Like, how old are you? And it is, people see rules. They see, I know one time on a year thing, someone was like, I was saying, well, if you want a business, you could get funds in February. Oh, I'm not ready to start the funds in February, start the business in February. I was like, I grabbed the card. I said, okay, so we'll move that down to say July. And she's like, can you do that? I'm like, I just did. Like, see that now starting in July. That is a big lesson for a lot of people to learn. They don't get that. So yes, I suppose, what was Vincent at that time? 26?
30.
30? Okay,
30
so
years
30. I always said 28, but now I'm thinking maybe 30 is where we define who we are, right? We sort of grow away from our parents and our upbringing into who we are. Do you think that's a good age? So it would make sense.
Well, it may vary.
Wow, that's very interesting. One reflection I had, I remember being 33 years old. We'd done Robin Assured, I'd done Evita, and I was in my apartment in South London, and I was sitting there contemplating what came next. And it dawned on me that I didn't owe my father, and I don't mean this in a bad way.
No.
I didn't owe my father any other achievements that he wanted for me. He passed away during Evita in 79. And I think I'd done a lot of what I'd done, not to please him, but because of his encouragement and my mother's encouragement in taking the risks that I had in the business, which had obviously paid off. 10 years in the West, 4 years with Evita and Robin and Sherwood, it paid off. But I suddenly sat there and I went, the rest of my life is for me now. I've done what my parents would have been extraordinarily happy for me to end up in the West End and being in the West End shows and being in a hit TV show in the UK. I now have control, as Lawrence of Arabia says in the movie. They say he still has the writing, and I believe we all have the writing. We condemn ourselves to following down what we believe is a pre-written story. I don't believe that. We all have the writing, and we can write our own history and our own futures as we move forward. And I think that was the moment for me where I went, I have the writing. I have the writing now.
Yes.
That, back that debt back.
It's so important to get to that, to develop. But it's got to be one of your decks that I read in the book. Animation brings attention or whatever. So if you're doing something, then that is going to attract other people that are doing that same thing. Like Rob started that company, you're doing the same thing, you got together. You have to do what you want to do in order to bring the people around you that are going to assist with that. You have to make the first move, right?
Yeah.
It's resonance also.
The
Once
resonance.
things start resonating with other people, you'll feel magic happen.
And so it's that. So that is the advice from today, boys and girls. Everybody, make it to your 30 and then do what you want. And then other people who are doing what they want will join you in doing it. It's that pretty basic. So yeah, it would have been a perfect time for Vincent to be going through those things. I think he probably was. And unfortunately just felt trapped instead of, I don't know. I've got to find out the advice that the great McGarity
Well,
gives to him.
I can lift maybe a little bit of a veil about what the movie is about.
Okay, good. Go.
As you said, he was a minister, but he was that amongst a lot of other things. He was actually a jack of all trades. And he did not know what he wanted to do. He started doing illustration. He started to do art selling. He was a teacher also. And at the beginning of the movie, because McGarity is laying cards, at the beginning of the movie, the full card is actually laid down. The full card is actually the tabula rasa, the empty page. Everything is still possible. And he goes on a journey actually to find that what he needs to become, which is in the end an artist with all the pros and cons that come with it. So
And he was very intense on that. Like his just thinking about the work and being applied himself to that work, and it was that all the time. He had definitely found his passion.
yeah,
As that goes.
he was a bit of a maniac almost in the way he worked, not sleeping, depriving himself of food, of almost making suffering a means in itself to tap into that thing that lies beyond, to see the truth behind the facade that we all experience.
A quick plug. I one of the books that I got that I was kind of like, I want to understand what this is about, Van Gogh in Drenthe. This is a wonderful book.
Okay, so you suggest this book to others interested.
Interesting illustrations of his work and what he was experiencing on this journey in Drenthe. So I highly recommend this because visually it was a great insight into the darker rural parts of the journey that he went on there. And I found that very informative, this book.
Who's the author?
Do you know what? It doesn't actually say. I think it's actually produced by Drenthe itself. There is a foreword by Harry Tupen, General Director, Drenthe Museum. So I got this at the Drenthe Museum because
so it's one of their publications.
It's one of their publications about his life in the area, and it's a fantastic book. It was very, very informative, covering the style, how he learned the style that he developed later on, which then when he went to France changed.
Which is beautiful. I love. Oh, I was going to wear my Vincent van Gogh color shirt today. I love the colors. I just love Vincent. So what are you guys up to next out in there? Well, Mark, you have a little bit of news. Did you want to share that?
A quick plug to the UK Tarot Conference. I am, in fact, there this weekend in the UK, in London, at the UK London Tarot Conference. To plug, of course, John Matthews and I are there doing a little talk and doing a little workshop talking about this, as are several other worthy tarot aficionados and writers. Then we're going to the Atlantis bookstore, which is the oldest occult bookstore.
Oh, I saw that on Caitlin's site. Yes.
Then we're going to be there. We're doing that on Sunday, so we're doing a little workshop. chat at Atlantis, which is probably the oldest occult bookstore, certainly in London, but probably in the world. And many interesting people have crossed through those doors. So we're doing that Sunday, but on Saturday we're at the London Tarot Conference.
I wanted to. I'm not ignoring you, Rob. I'm just. I
No,
wanted
no,
to
no.
ask you this.
It's a delight hearing you.
Okay, this. I just see it as a personal oracle. Can you like? Would you use the wildwood for a reading for someone else more than you would ever use this, or how do you think about that?
I keep saying, people keep asking, what's the difference between an oracle and a tarot? Not that you need a third party with a tarot. You can do it for yourself, but an oracle is more designed for the individual to interact with the archetypes themselves personally. And so with this deck, we decided not to simplify it, because actually the information is historically is more complex about the history of Robin and his relationship to these other characters that turn up in the old poems. But it's a more direct way for the person themselves. Some people prefer to have a third party, i.e. the reader, read the cards, because it's for them it's somehow cleaner.
Well, you might not want to hear something that the cards have to say if you're reading it yourself. So you might itch it out a little, inch it out a little bit. You can't though. I tried. I did I had a reading that said, Vicky, you're not going to be a very nice person today. And I thought, well, I don't want to hear that. So I tried again and it said the same thing, only with different cards. So that day I decided to not do anything in that way. And that night those cards were faced the other way again. So, it does. But I wanted to show, last time I didn't show this. I have that book that some of the poems, that some of the things at the top are made of, the Robin Hood Song of Robin Hood.
There you go.
And I had got that, and I was reading that, and I was like, wait, that sounds familiar. So I'm just really proud of this find, people. I have it. and then it has all those ballads from Robin Hood. Okay.
And so a quick
like I said, this is the only time I get to do my socializing with people. So
a quick shout out to Renee Blanche in Germany. I just did a thing called The Last Hex, which is a period piece about, obviously, witches, the last witch in Germany, which was great fun. I enjoyed working on that as well. So big shout out. Thank you, Renee, and good luck with the editing on that, because they've got a lot of material. So
there are cool pictures coming out of there too. With I mean, we don't have that kind of history here, right? We don't have this ancient and the buildings, and it's always fascinating to see. So this is probably coming out mid 23 letters from Vincent van Gogh. You're thinking mid 2025?
Yes. Well, if you're asking me what I'm up to, I'm trying to get the rest of the shooting in the can, and there's already some editing being done, but we aim to the middle of 25 to have it finished and premiere.
So, and you're, like Mark said before, you guys are already looking at some other different projects, which we don't want to jinx when they're that far by mentioning them, right? Because that's what it feels like. So,
well, one thing that where we do not have a lack of here is actually stories and things to tell. So there's a lot of films still to be made.
Well, I thank you for that. And the whole, I mean, this brings me the history, because ancestrally mine are from like Ireland, Scotland, Viking land, and Belgium. So when they talked about Belgium separating from the Netherlands, I had never known that, right? Because I always figured, well, first of all, they just like to, they just partied around the North Sea. But also, that because the Vikings were in Belgium for a while with the whole French. It's just an interesting, it brings you to all different aspects of history. So, gentlemen, are we good for today on this subject?
Is it time already?
It's actually, we're half an hour over time. I do that sometimes. There's nobody after me. So. I just
We always go over.
yeah. Well, yeah. Uh, he just gets into so many things, Rob. When you're not here, you don't know, and it's all interesting and fascinating. So I can't stop him.
Well, it's the same for me, Vicky. I love going outdoors to the pub with Mark, and I personally cannot get enough of all the these great adventures that Mark's been on,
That's
and he
right.
tells about it. I love it.
He has a great knack at storytelling. And I am envious that you have been to a pub with Mark because that's the place to go with Mark. I
I
think.
consider myself very lucky.
Yeah. Yes. I'll never have that pub experience. I want to remind people that somebody said they would send me one of those posters. So
It's a promise. Now you've got lots of witnesses. There was a promise.
that's right. That's right. Oh, from they're listening. Michelle said go on as long as you want to today. Okay. So, is there anything else we want to talk about? Or are we good?
Well, I can go on for hours, if need be. So
What was your favorite memory of like blooper, or what did you really enjoy about working on this project?
is that a question to Mark or me?
It's to either one of you. Like I said, whoever gets in there first gets the question.
Well, each day of filming is an adventure in itself, and it's actually I also consider it to be a miracle to have each day of filming done. And each day of filming, there's this, well, as I told before, there's these small trinkets, these small gold nuggets of magic happening, and that is all that for me is very rewarding. But yeah, well,
So,
what is your favorite day? I think they all are. I
no,
did.
because
I really liked filming on the station actually, because it was with a lot of extras and a lot of
a
technical
lot of
stuff.
action.
I'd written a scene specifically to be put in that, and it turned out to be great. So really, I really loved that day. Yeah, it was 16th of September, about a month ago.
He remembers. Those pictures are great too. I wrote down the cameraman's name. I don't know, but whoever
Robert,
he, yes. So just
yes.
say thank you because I love that era. And those pictures are just great. Now you mentioned something. You said it was magic, and Mark, you've been on a lot of productions. Do you think the people involved make a difference to the working environment and perhaps even the end result because they do click?
Oh, I think there's a strange camaraderie with a film crew, and I've said this many times. I love being on a film set. There's a strange atmosphere because it's a once in a lifetime thing, but it's going to live forever. So that moment that you're trying to capture, it's so fleeting, and you have to be so focused, and yet people want a cup of coffee, people want a sandwich. You've got to move that light, you've got to bring that ice machine, you've got to do this. There's so much going on, and you talk about magical moments. We filmed inside this gypsy caravan, and Pim had a very difficult thing to do without giving the story away. But it relates to what I've told you before about advice I got from Anthony Hopkins, Sir Anthony Hopkins, who demands that I call him Tony. And so from Tony Hopkins, he said about just say the words, feel the truth of it, and let the audience decide. And Pim's managed to do that extraordinarily well with his character, but in one scene without giving it away too much, because we had to film it in one location. He has to go from this journey of being, first of all, not really understanding what he's having his cards read about, to realizing that there's a truth archetypally within the cards which he is experiencing, to the almost tipping into the madness of realizing that there is a journey which is yet to go on, and there's a future which he may or may not grasp and create. And so that is a hell of a journey in one scene for an actor to go from there into this almost psychosis of dealing with what the visions and what he's looking at in the future. And so I was very, very respectful of what Pim was trying to do in the scene, and impressed by the fact that he was able to do it. And watching that, for me, working with other performers who bring that reality, because as the advice was from Tony to me, he said, it's all in here. Stage acting is about getting the audience to gather their focus, their Jungian on that stage. Sometimes not particularly you, but on
but
that
in that, but this is focusing within. Yeah.
This screen acting is about the camera looking right into your head, and the story you tell with your eyes draws the audience in. They're either going to believe you or they're not, and they're going to like you or dislike you with the story that you tell going on in your head, which comes out of your eyes and your body and your mannerisms. And Pim did that so extraordinarily well. I was very, very impressed with him as an actor, that he was able to take that journey. Well, and there's one of the stills I have on my Facebook page, and I can't remember, it might have even been you. You commented on how do you do that when you've got a camera here and a light there and this, and people are moving about. You literally just have to lock yourself into that bubble and create that reality in that bubble, and hopefully the camera captures it. And sometimes there could be all kinds of things go wrong. You could have wet feet. It could be raining outside. It could be Tuesday. You could have a cough. You could, whatever. You have to lock yourself into that bubble of reality and let the camera see that as if it is filming an actual reality. And if people connect to that emotional journey, then you've got a great storytelling. You've got great movies. And Pim managed to do that. And I was like, that's a difficult job, and he's done it so well.
How could I have forgotten, Mark? Because that day actually was the day that our director was not able to do the directing. So I was actually being how you call it, a stand-in director. And the way I like to direct is not to watch the monitor or be outside of the card and see all the technical things. I really like to be with the actors and seeing them all play out as if it's a play just for me. And that was actually those were great moments. I consider them to be part of the better experiences in my life. What happened there, so it was really great. That was actually my favorite, I think.
So when you get in a moment like that, you're like in isolation from the rest of the world. You have to put yourself in isolation. And you have, as you said, Pim doing such a fantastic job of doing that, but then that would also bring the rest of you in that as well.
Yeah, well,
because you're living that moment with him.
It's not just that it was Pim who was doing an excellent job. It was also Mark. And what happened that day inside that cart, which is very claustrophobic to work in, is that also Pim, but also Mark, they both were co-writing the story on the spot. Mark said, I have this really interesting way of bringing these lines. I'll go to Vincent and I'll really connect on a personal level with him and deliver these lines in this and this manner. And when I saw that, I thought this is when things get from written on paper to something much more than it was conceived firsthand. So this is the collaboration process that I really loved working with Mark and Pim.
It was growing organically. Yeah. And so, I mean, it sounds a lot like this film did a lot of organic growing. You got the picture. I keep pointing there, but it's not there yet. I mean, in my mind, it is. You have you have the picture that helped to create McGarrity's character. Then you have this. So it was like a lot of, you wrote the script, but good for you. You were open to changes. You weren't fixed so that the story could grow.
Yeah,
And
when I write a story, I have all these characters. They live in my mind, and when I write it, it's almost like I have an internal dialogue. But it's only part of the process. What I really love about the whole thing of filmmaking is that it combines a lot of art forms and turns them all together into something new that you all create together. So I always encourage actors to change their own parts if need be, or to change their own text and make them more personal and make them more the way they see their characters, because that's the whole collaboration process that makes from an average movie, a piece of art.
But it is down to collaboration, and that it's on Black Sails, for instance. You're always grateful to have somebody to work with, like Toby Stevens, who is so open to bouncing that energy off you. A lot of actors think it should all be about them and the focus is on them. We call ourselves actors, but actually we're reactors. We're reacting to the other character, and so you've got to be aware of what the other characters, where they're coming from, and how you would react to that as a human being. Toby was obviously, my heart goes out to Toby. He just lost his mother.
Yes, I was thinking of that.
So I sent him a little note, and Toby is one of the best reactors and actors I've ever worked with. But what Pim applied was exactly the same thing, and to be given the freedom to do that on a set when you're actually shooting something is, to me, which Rob did because he wrote it and he's directing these things. One of the reasons to do this type of project is because you get a chance to bring some essence of your own experience to those characters and make those moments alive and intimate. And that, to me, is the essence of the work of being an actor, is to bring that into those scenes and people go, "Ooh, what were you feeling at that moment? What was that? What was that about? Oh, how did you deal with that after? What, those are the moments to me in filmic storytelling that people remember." It's interesting. I was going to say earlier on that a couple of my films is a film called Big Fish. Another one is a film called Being There, with the late great Peter Sellers. And those little films that show elements of humanity about relationships between father-son relationships, and and how in Being There, about relationship to society. You go, that is great filmmaking. And that is what we can do with these independent projects, because we're not looking to bring in superheroes or blow things up.
No, which have their place, but sometimes you want something different. And like I said, I want to say that Maggie Smith was always a hero as an actress and a person. I mean, I just loved her. It's definitely a loss for everyone. But in Black Sails is on one of my top 3 lists of television writing. And now you did that. They took your emotions back and forth and over, and you change sides. You don't know what's going on next. And your Hellgate's relationship with why is it lost my head with
Captain Flint.
Yes. See, how could you forget that? Captain Flint was just that play back and forth, that scene at the end of season 1. That was Oscar time, and it was a television show. But yes, Black Sails. Speaking of, my husband is just saying that he's doing a historical tour with some guys today, and they have never seen Black Sails. So, listening to the show and how he's doing both, and having them all go home to watch Black Sails immediately. Okay, yes, he has some castle, because it is a classic. So I can see that. But unfortunately, like, there are people in any art who won't let go of themselves, and it, won't let go of the story, or won't let go of their part, or their vision. And so it loses out a lot when that happens, I would think.
Everybody's got their own techniques. If you listen to any of the actors that that talk about how they do it, everybody's got a technique where they go on this inner journey, and they're trying to express something that sometimes may be alien to them, or maybe they understand it intimately. Everybody's got their own ways of doing it. And I've worked with your method actors that want to stay in the character. I've worked with people like Toby and I used to joke non-stop throughout the whole filming process. Roger Rees, the great late Roger Rees, we used to joke with each other all between takes, and then as soon as they said action, we were into it. And there's some people that can't do that; they have to stay in it. And I don't knock them; those people that do that, And I've worked with Gary Oldman, I've worked with people that bring the depth to a character which is extraordinary. It's whatever works for you. That as far as I'm concerned, but that day with him. My admiration for him as an actor went up through the roof. I went, okay, he's really working on a different level, and he's really thought it through about what he wants to do with these scenes and what he brings, and that allowing us to play that from the point of view from my character and his character. That to me is what it's about. It's creating that moment this lightning in a bottle moment that you're never ever going to be able to shoot that again. That's done. Once it's in the can, it lives forever and will outlive you, your career, and everybody around you. Those moments of magic is a kind of strange immortality.
Yes, we remember them, and quote them and play roll them many years later in our lives. So I just need to know, what deck was it? A made up one, or was there a certain deck that McGarity used while doing his readings?
There you go. That's for Rob.
Well, that in itself was a journey, actually, Vicky, because I first started out to wanting to really use Mark's Greenwood deck, or Wildwood actually, which is a bit different from the standard tarot decks. So I was asking him a lot about the meaning of the cards and how it would translate to screen. Then there was the issue that because the images are copyright protected, we needed to make our own version. So I asked an artist to do so, but it was very hard to translate it to 18th or 17th or 18th century cards. So what we ended up doing is taking the standard tarot deck and adjusting them image-wise to make them really accompany the movie. One of the cards I also mentioned is the Fool card. So it's the card of the fool on the cliffside,
looking down with the dog,
the sky, and a dog biting his butt and everything. And we made him look like Vincent, as a matter of fact. We gave him a little red beard and a hat and a pipe. So we did make these adjustments, but we did go back to the more traditional tarot
images.
And the images, because they are so ingrained in our subconscious that they are more easily translated to film.
No, you see that in a lot of productions, and then I can sit there and say, no, that is not what the devil means. I'm sure that won't happen in your movie. but the Fool card is so you didn't have to recreate the whole deck, just the ones that we're going to show, right? Or
yes, only the cards that are being shown. The rest were actually dummy cards. But we might want to maybe after the film is finished, we might want to bring out an entire Vincent deck.
If there's a publisher
Vincent-
out there that's interested in it, you know what I mean? We could certainly.
I'm all go. So because most of that would be public domain, right?
Yeah.
His pictures in that, so the artwork wouldn't be difficult to get hold of. Okay, shh. Other people will
We'd
pick
have
up
to
on
get
us.
an artist to redo them, yeah, but and
Yeah.
recreate them, which I thought was an interesting idea, is using a Renaissance era deck with the Wildwood and Greenwood ethos, which is the wheel of the year, as opposed to it being Kabbalah, which I think confuses other people.
I'm all wheel of the year. I mean that is just the way to go. Not that I'm just trying to get along with certain people here on the thing, but it, as I've expressed before, really bad summer allergies, was getting frustrated that I wasn't being able to play with the other kids outside, turned the wheel around to make summer winter for me, and it changed everything. You know, it's like, oh, I can do that now, I can do that here. So firm believer in the wheel. I think that's a fabulous idea. I don't think we should talk about it too much here. Other people will know, but keep me keep me in the loop on this one, because they would be beautiful. I love that art. And to me, tarot is like a tiny book, action book with like a 72, I hope she got that right, 72 pieces of art in them. So
Well,
you can
we only used the major arcana cards actually.
yeah, but you have this time to finish off the rest.
It does not. The movie does not have 72 chapters.
You could, yeah, you could. I want to see a Vincent van Gogh deck. So,
Yeah.
like, work with me on this, Rob. Don't be difficult.
No, I would gladly share some of the pictures with you and see what you think of it. But I'm actually an avid tarot card collector myself. I love a lot of decks here everywhere, vintage decks. So I like the whole tarot thing, and the fact that it was maybe it was a kind of psychology. You know, my wife is a psychologist, so maybe it was the 17th, 18th century version of a psychology. Yes, people were trying to make sense of their life and where they're going and what to do next, and they could use it to reflect with someone who was actually able to listen to them and try to translate their fears and anxieties and what have you not.
Well, therapists use them. There are some therapists that use tarot cards in their work now, right? To the images to bring things out. And we can go as long as we want. So we'll just grab a cup of tea and then we'll do a tarot show. I'm all for that.
I would love to come back again on your show, Vicky.
You are welcome anytime, Rob. I told you in the letters you had a sense of humor, and that's what we're all about. Laugh and then get back to work. You can still get the information out there. Well,
on another note regarding the deck and about archetypes, just quickly, in my other life when I was a younger man, one of the things that I was doing was, we don't call it interrogating anywhere, it was debriefing somebody, and there was something that was particularly difficult in this situation, and I was asked by one of the officers, the bosses, to go in and have a crack at this and see if I could, get into this guy's head and into this guy's psyche. And I read what everybody else had tried, and I looked at what the different ways that approached it, and I went, I'm going to do something completely different. I'm going to go in there and do it. And I walked in, and I had this guy smiling and laughing within about 15 minutes at my apparent foolishness, and that it was an actual approach, apparent foolishness. And I got this guy laughing so much so that I was actually pulled out. And the boss said to me, he said, we don't know how you did that. What did you do? And I said, I put on my full character, and I went and I was trying to explain to him about the archetypes. And he said, where did you get this from? And I said, tarot cards. Well, he looked at me like I completely had lost my mind. However, they couldn't deny, because when afterwards this particular gentleman was sat down with the psychologist, because after these things, these experiences these guys go through, they have to be questioned to make sure they're okay, and that, find out where they were while they're doing this test. Let's put it that way. And finally, the guy said to me, he said, "Is there anybody that came to see you that you genuinely thought that," he said, "because you've been shouted at, you've been screamed at, you've been this, that, the other." He said, "Was there anybody that you thought you would have just talked to and told them?" He said, "Yeah, that last bloke that came in." He said, "I'd have sat down with him and I was laughing, joking with him, talking to him." He said, "And that's not what we're expecting." So I dislocated his expectations of the outcome. And instead of doing that, I did this. And that immediately cracked that shell. So there are many, many parts to this, moving parts, that we can use and adapt from tarot in our normal lives, about how we approach things and people and circumstances. I think tarot is a great tool, not just to help you understand yourself, but to understand the other people that we interact with.
Well, and to get them, I know that when my kids were teens, if there was a subject that we were having difficulty, they were having difficulty expressing or discussing, I would just throw out the cards, and that made them start thinking. I think because I don't like being told what to do. Maybe that's the Irish. I don't know. So I do not do the fate thing. So I was just sitting and listening to Mark and thinking, I think it's a possibilities thing. All those pictures, all those paths, all those possibilities are in the deck that you might not think of. So what it is doing is providing you with possibilities. And I definitely think the Fool is totally underrated. I mean, the Fool was the political commentator at one point in history, right? They'd get away with it because you look at Monty Python, those guys were no fools. The Fool can be very intelligent, Mark. And so I think he showed intelligence in that situation.
When I read for myself, which, I do now and again, I always use the Fool, because Ray and I were talking, Winston and I and Jason were sitting around talking one day about why people do things in their lives, just to give a quick anecdote, but it was a lesson that I had to learn. At this point, I'm not a kid. I mean, we were sort of in our 40s, late 40s by this point. We were sitting around talking about why we've done what we've done in our lives. And I said, we've been very lucky. And Ray said, "Marky, you're not lucky, son. You make your own luck. You create the luck." And I said, "All right, I accept that because it fits into my philosophical view of the world." I said, "But all right, then we've been fortunate when you think of all the barriers that there are in life to get from point A to point B. These barriers are there." And he goes, "Marky," he said, "Yeah, there are barriers in life. The difference is we just don't see them. So we go straight through them." And I had to literally go away for about 4 or 5 days after that and ponder that and go, has there ever been a time when I've looked back and gone, that's a real barrier? I can't do that. I won't be able to do that because, and I honestly went, no. If there's something that I wanted to do, really, I would just go for it. And if it didn't work out, with my father's advice, I would apply the lessons that I learned to the next issue or the next goal. But I never looked back and thought, oh, I can't do that. I've always thought, you don't know until you step off that cliff. When you become,
Thank you.
and you step onto that bridge and you grab your faith and leave all the baggage behind, which he does in some of our artwork. You leave the baggage behind. You leave all the self-doubt behind. You leave it on the cliff edge and you step off into it. You don't know until you ask the question. And I've done that so many times in my life and had a good result by doing that. So I never question myself like that. Just go, try.
Never question yourself. But the question is the most important thing. I think even if you're going to a reading for whatever amount of money, you're spending that money. So you want to make sure that you have the right question, and just developing the question, you realize what's important to you. Right.
I say that
there.
all the time. Define
It's
the question.
actually it's a line in the movie actually. All we need now is a question.
All we need.
Vincent says question. What do you mean with a question? Oh, question. Will I see fortune? Will I marry? Will all that sort of stuff. It's interesting. It's actually in a movie.
Yeah.
It's and it yeah, good. It's Marcus movie. It should be in there because it's very, very. I remember the way I came in was through the Wildwood Tarot. I had been out of, I was having kids, working, whatever. I'd been out of things for a while, and so I came in with the Wildwood Tarot, and I got Hold Fast. And I was thinking, reading about all the military experience and things. And I was reading, this is not your average tarot creator, okay?
No.
Because I've seen the things. This is no nonsense. So I would say there are different decks for different times. But if you want to really do the work, if you want to really get to the answers of things, the Wildwood Tarot is where it goes because it holds no hostages. Like, you have to look at yourself, your natural wild self, very clearly, and so in that I can see how it all comes together there. But no, I did think that, Mark. I was like, not your average
We're
tarot.
really proud of Wildwood. Wildwood is still one of the best-selling, if not the best-selling deck of the last, 30 years. When you go to New York, your publisher's even willing to sit down with you and buy you lunch. You must be selling decks. So in this new world of publishing, which has changed quite remarkably since we started, that to me is, Kate. Thank you, Kate Zimmerman. We're thank you. Nowadays, just to be able to sit down with your publisher and have a conversation, they go, "We're still selling." You know what I mean? That's a good sign. So Wildwood is still very close to my heart.
The images, Will's images are fantastic. The
Great job.
all the extra work in that was done online and everything as well. It's an entire class in progress, and also what I used on the first line to get Mark here, Rob, because I was like, you were the one that taught me to follow my arrows.
Well, regarding that, again, views, you see, it's interesting working with artists. One of the things that Will was adamant about was that in the card, the Guardian card, was the Great White Bear. And when I went to Avebury and finally went to Wayland Smith, which is depicted in the card, Jessica had sent me off, which it was used in Greenwood, off into this. She went, go in there and see who comes and talks to you. And so I did, and I was sitting in this 11,000-year-old burial chamber, whatever it is, and into my head popped this vision of this great white bear, not a brown bear, not a grizzly bear, a white bear, a polar bear style bear. So I couldn't get that image out of my head. So that's why in all of the decks since, it's always been the pole star, the pole bear. There's always been this big white bear. And Will said to me, he said, well, there are no polar bears. There were no polar bears in Europe during this period. Why is it a white bear? And I said, well, that's because that's what I saw. And he said, well, shouldn't it be a big brown bear, a grizzly or something? I said, or a smaller European? I said, no, what I saw was a big white bear. So I insisted. So we ended up putting it back in.
I love that image. That's one of my favorites.
Well, we found out some time ago when we were actually doing a tour, John and I, in America for Wildwood. There was a great article about research on polar bears in the North Pole. And they'd done a DNA check of various little clumps of polar bears in the North Pole. And it's been shown that basically every polar bear directly is DNA connected to every bear that was actually evolved in Scotland and Ireland and Wales and Northern Europe. So what happened was the brown bears migrated from Europe, particularly from Scotland for some reason, and Wales and England, across the ice sheets into the polar regions. And as they traveled north, they changed from brown to being white bears, polar bears. So the great ancestor of every bear that ever lived in Europe, but particularly in Britain, was in fact, is now the great white bear.
See, Mark was right, Rob. Mark was right. We never should have doubted him.
So that, that's my
great story.
You're honest.
It is going on 2 hours, so I think we
Okay.
all need a talking break. Rob, you are welcome back anytime. We usually see each other in March. Mark, maybe we can do a tarot talk in March with Rob and just hang out. So
Who knows what lies in store?
that's right.
You have the writing, Vicky. You have the
I have the writing of this. Okay, I'll get to work on that. As soon as I will talk another show, as soon as I have my poster in my hand.
Oh, it's bribery now. Oh, I get it now. I see what's going on now. Okay.
I have. As soon as I saw that poster, I wrote that on Facebook. I need this poster. I need it. So
one more
okay, you guys take care.
Take a good look.
There you go. There it goes.
It's coming your way. It's coming your way.
It's on your way. Yeah, and sign it while you're at it. Anybody that sees it. Okay, you guys take care. We'll talk again soon, and thank you so much for spending this time with us. Okay.
Thank you. Good.
Bye, Rob. Bye, Mark. Okay, fantastic. It always goes 2 hours. It's perfect. Next week we'll be having Victoria Clapton on with what I'm calling Fika's Halloween read of the season. There's pumpkin patches, there's flavored coffee, there's hot chocolate. So you won't want to miss that. Bring your pumpkin spice along. Until then, may your coffee be hot and your story sweet. Thanks for listening, everyone.